Hello, everybody. It's Dr. Rick. Uh, Happy Sunday to you. Happy July. Well, it's Saturday. Moving too fast. Happy July. Hope that you had a great week. I am not going to be too long here. First of all, we had an unbelievable webinar yesterday on unleashing the power of AI. For those who attended, thank you. I'm hoping that you have taken what you've learned and you will take the next step. Man, we talked about everything. There was a guy there who was starting a vending machine company, and we found out how AI could actually contribute to that. And we talked about AI in mental health, AI in physical fitness, AI in the medical industry. We talked about it in so many different ways and how it's going to influence the future. Goldman Sachs says that AI is going to eliminate or replace 300 million jobs globally over the next 18 months or so. So then what does that mean? That means that you could reskill yourself, reinvent yourself, make allotment for what influences AI will play. You got to think, we literally right now have McDonald's unmanned, meaning you can literally pull up to a McDonald's order at the drive-thru, and when you pull around to the window, a machine is going to hand you your food. It's going to have cooked it, prepared it, made the bag and everything. Not a person in the building. Nobody manage it. Nobody watch it. It's literally to that particular level. And we see it over time in our grocery stores and Walmart and Kroger and Randall's, where we used to have the interaction with the cashiers. Cashiers are now becoming obsolete. And we haven't even reached the pinnacle of what that's going to look like, grocery shopping. So AI is going to play a role. So the thing is, what are you going to do about it? My thing is, one of the biggest problems that I see with people who are quote unquote unhappy with their lot in life. I don't believe in lots in life. I believe that we choose to stay in places we may have been pushed into. So you don't get to choose where you're born. You don't get to choose the condition you're born in. But at a certain point in time, there has to be something within you that says, this isn't what I want. And if that's not what you want, you get to come out of it. Now, depending on where you're at and how long you were there, how deeply rooted it is in your family DNA, and I mean that genetically, and I mean that culturally, it can be a fight. This isn't about ease. This is about possibility. And so what happens? You have to make a decision that this isn't my lot in life. I'm not going to be here. What I see are so many people unhappy. 85% of the people in this country wake up and go to a job every day that they don't like. 80% of first-time heart attacks happen Monday morning between 5 a.m. and 12 p.m. I wonder what's happening then. Everybody's getting up, going to that job they hate for the first day of the week. 5 hard days in a place they don't want to be in. And the truth of the matter is, you have way more control over your life than you believe. The problem is, you can't keep doing what everybody else has been doing. Here's the thing. There's a saying amongst us that if you want a life beyond what everyone else has, if you want that life that's exceptional, that's phenomenal, that's remarkable, that life that other people are looking at, like the people who want something are looking at somebody and saying, man, that's that life right there. I think the term we've been using for the last 10 years is, those are the goals. Marriage goals, love goals, career goals. Those are the goals. Looking at a particular person and seeing what they're doing and saying, those are the goals. Well, here's the thing. They didn't do what everybody else was doing. They did something different. They got outside of the box. They decided, if I am going to get things that other people don't have, I'm going to have to do things other people don't do. And that's problem. Everybody is getting up, going to the default setting in their life and thinking they're going to get exception. Your default setting is average. Your default setting is, if I get up and I do just what I have to do, I'm going to get just enough to get by. I'm going to get just enough to say, hey, I'm here. I'm going to get just enough to say I'm making it. But that's not why you're here. You're not here to make it. So when I created this course, which the webinar was the precursor to the course. I created a course that was comprehensive. Anybody that knows me knows I'm comprehensive. If you watch my videos, you know I do very few shorts. Why? Because I don't like to throw stuff out there and leave people trying to figure out what you do with it. So I'm very, very detail oriented. When I work with my clients, I'm detail oriented. I'm wanting to know where you're at, what you're doing, how you got there, so that I can get you where you're trying to go. That doesn't just pop up and happen. It's detail oriented. So when I create courses, when I write books, that's why you very rarely get a book with 100 or something pages. I don't even count those as books. I count them as guides. All of the books that I count, when I say I've got 26 books published, over 200 pages. Why? Because I want you to really, truly get an understanding of what I'm trying to give to you. I'm not one of those people that come up and say, if you want to get out of this, do this, but then don't tell you how to do it. That's one of the catches that everybody does. Hey, you want to do this? Do that. No, here's what you do. You got to do X, you got to do Y, you got to do Z. And if you do that, then you're going to follow up with this and this and this. It's detail, and a lot of people will turn it off. Because you know what? We've been trained for sensationalism and we've been trained for brevity. So what we want is something real succinct, real sensational, drive our emotion. Doesn't even have to have substance as long as it makes me feel good. All I'm trying to do is feel good for the moment. I'll find something else to make me feel good later. And nobody is looking for that thing where you can actually create this switch in your life to where you can wake up every day feeling great because you're where you want to be or you're headed there and you're in control of your life. Doesn't mean you're in control of every circumstance surrounding you. It means that you wake up and you make choices on how you're going to respond to your life. So when I create a course, I'm creating a course for people who actually want to make moves, who are actually willing to invest in themselves, who are willing to sit up and say, I can't keep doing the same thing expecting different results. That's the very definition of insanity. And yet you've got 90% of the population on this planet doing it every day. And then looking at the 10% or 5% that are getting on in the world and having issues with them, coming up with reasons why they're successful and you're not. They must have cheated. They aren't ethical. They aren't that. And yeah, there are some unethical people. There's some right down dirty people with power. Yes, there are. But there are a bunch of people that got up in the morning, went out there and found opportunities where they didn't exist. They created them. They got up every day. They grinded. They pushed. They fought. They did. They served. They gave. They learned. They grew. And they did it over and over again until they got where they are. And that's the same thing you have the opportunity to do. But you're not going to get there sitting up and thinking that I'm going to wake up every day and do what everybody else does and make it. So when I created this Unleashing the Power of Artificial Intelligence online course, it was coming from 4 years plus research and over 16 to 18 months of personal implementation into my business structures. I have multiple businesses that I run. Many of them are online, and I've used AI in many different facets, from data analytics to research augmentation, to actually creating content, to course design, all of these different things. So when I'm teaching you this, when I'm sharing this with you, it is me having tapped into the experts who were behind this thing and learning from it so that I knew how to implement it. And like the one that caught me off the guard in the webinar yesterday is the guy with the vending machine, because the first thing is like AI and vending machines. And then it hit me, hey, vending machine placement. It can literally help you draft your proposal to any location where you want to put your vending machine, because you got to convince any location to get you that. So it'll help you with that. And so we went through these lists of things that AI can help a person who runs a vending machine. Also create your franchising license once you grow big enough to have other people putting your vending machines in places and then sharing revenue with them. All of these things are possible. The thing that I look at is the most marginalized group in this country, whether we want to admit it or not, no matter how much we floss, no matter how much we toss up deuces on the beach in destination locations, we are still the most marginalized people on this planet. We still have more people per capita at the poverty line than any other group. And the ones that are closest to us, those south of the border, are rapidly moving away from us because what? They are building businesses. Remember, there used to be that they were just the workers on the construction companies on the freeway and by the houses. They're owning them now. And there is a collaborative effort with them to create ownership and connectivity. And that's something that we're missing. So then what must we do if we want to really truly achieve power as a collective, as a people, as individual, as leaders in our homes and our families and our communities that want to be solid providers, solid support systems for our community, for our families, and literally set the pathway and the blueprint for our children? We've got to get out of the box. This isn't about maligning anybody with a job. You got a job and it pays you well, and you are literally building and growing and taking the money you're making and taking a certain percentage of putting aside, and you're living your best life. This isn't for you. This is for people that are sitting up there and knowing I'm not at my best. There's something better out from them. These are the people that knowing that they don't work best when they're being micromanaged and told what to do. These are the people who are sick and tired of knowing that even though they're paying me well, I'm making them 10, 15, 20 times more than they're paying me. I could be making some of that and then controlling my own life, my path, and decisions of when I'm going to take time off, when I'm going to spend time with my family, when I'm going to go, all these different things. But most importantly, I'm building a launch path for the next generation. My children won't have to start where I started. My children won't have to. And how do you do that? You're going to have to invest in yourself. You're going to have to build. So when I created the Unleashing the Power of Artificial Intelligence course, it was because I saw, you're talking about something so powerful. No piece of technology has grown at the rate that AI is growing right now. This is the reality of it. Not the internet, not the cell phone, not social media, all those things. And they have, social media has grown at an unbelievably astronomical rate. The internet is unbelievable. You got a juggernaut, which is one of the most powerful forces on the planet, called Google. And if you own a business online and you're trying to do stuff and you're using Google Analytics, you're using Google Ads, you're using Google AdSense, you're using all these different things that help you, and they do. I generate money a lot of different ways, and one of them is working with Google, but Google controls it. And I mean, all these big juggernauts online, Amazon, Walmart, Wayfair, all these different juggernauts that are online monsters, Spotify, all of them bow down to Google. That's the power. But just imagine where this was not even 20 years ago. So it's growing. But then check this out. As fast as all of that has grown in the last 20 years, just remember, Facebook was just the next MySpace, remember? Not anymore. Businesses are getting on here and creating billion-dollar enterprises on there because it's the branding monster. Instagram is also an unbelievable way to move products. YouTube is the second largest search engine in the world behind Google, which owns it. And you can go there and you can create content. You got 11 and 12-year-olds making $10 and $11 million a year doing something as simple as reviewing toys on YouTube. And yet you're sitting here and you're letting someone convince you that you can't take control of your life. But the crazy thing is AI is outpacing all of those things in growth. It's going to have an impact. Just imagine 300 million jobs. They're there today. They won't be there 18 months from now. So what are those 300 million people going to do? And so someone asked me a question. So what's the point? The point is, for once in our history here, get out ahead of the trend. To get out and be ahead of the trend. Here's what happens. We got ahead. I see trends as waves. Those behind the wave are actually the force that's pushing the wave. They have the hardest resistance because they are creating the force. Those who are in front of the wave are those who are reaping the momentum and the reward of being in front of it. They're getting all the things where everybody else is behind the curve. We've been the ones pushing it. We are the consumers. The ones in front of the waves are the business owners. Those are the trendsetters. Those are the ones that are saying we have advanced and we're moving. We wait for everything to happen. We sit up and laugh at it. We talk about that's stupid. And then once it gets going, there we are trying to get ahead of it. We'll buy the hell out of an Apple phone, never invested in Apple. Got a closet full of Jordans, never invested in Nike. Here's the thing. AI is coming. We're already at 4.0. when you talk about just the generative side of AI. We're already at 4.0. 5 is already done. We're waiting for congressional approval. That's how powerful it is. Now, you don't think that the people who already have positions of power are looking for ways to use AI to keep the masses at bay? This whole thing that we talk about with racism is simply the guardian of the gate to elitism. Racism protects the wealthy, using race as a barrier and a creator of buffer zones. The people we fear the most, we keep the further away from us. The people we are willing to give poverty and no easier control, we give them the benefits, the privileges, and use them as buffers through the force of hatred and indifference to push them back, thinking that they are better because they have the privilege. And this was done years ago. This caste system is designed to keep you at bay. So what happened when the internet came is it broke down some barriers. Why? Because there's so many things that I do online that does not have my appearance, my likeness, or anything attached to it. Why? Because there are markets I want to tap into and withdraw. And when I withdraw, I'm not going to go back out and spend it. I have stopped so many of my old spending habits because I realized just what I was doing. I was financing the demise of my people by pouring money that was being paid by other people outside of my race, and then going back and spending it right back. That's why they don't have a problem giving NBA players, NFL players, other athletes and entertainers all this money. Why? Because the first thing we do is we run to white-owned establishments, white-owned fashion companies, white-owned car companies, and we spend exorbitant amounts of money there to prove we've arrived, and we dump all that money that we've earned right back into their economy. So they get to be entertained by us. They use us and our skill sets to build and grow their enterprises and make way more than they're paying us, and then know it's coming back. Why? Because we're trained consumers and we buy into that. And so what I did is I stopped. I have a nice vehicle, but I've had it for a very long time, and I'm gonna ride it till the wheels fall off. Don't have no note on it. It speaks of how I feel I want to carry myself and represent myself. That was the time at 6 or 7 of those in the driveway. Bunch of square footage that I'm not using. And just money just going. Closet, rival any woman's. Shoe collection, rival any woman. Still got a few shoes and caps. But most of the stuff is just holdovers. Because for a while, I have not been out just splurging and buying because I understand. I'm going to put it in my company. I'm putting the vast majority in the expansion growth of my company. The rest goes off into investments because I understand. And so I invested a great deal into learning AI. Tech wasn't my thing. I got into tech because I needed to understand it to rebuild and rebrand myself online. And so when I created the 7-day online business launch course, that was me taking what I had done for 13 plus years and saying, hey, this is what I've done. It works. Do it. Let me show you how to build a business, start a business, launch a business for little to no startup capital. Grow it out. And from there, piece by piece, bit by bit, but you got something that's yours. And let me tell you something. I'm not going to tell you it's easy. I'm not going to tell you every day I wake up and everything just flows like milk and honey. I'm going to tell you when I wake up, it's mine. When I wake up, I'm smiling because I'm about to start a day with something that I'm passionate about, something I love, something that I will do long after it stops being financially necessary because I am passionate about it and I love it. But let me tell you something. There's nothing like being able to say, you know what? I went through a very rough time. I went through a divorce last year. I lost one of my younger brothers last year. A couple years before that, I had 5 heart attacks in March of 22. So the last few years has just been this constant barrage of bam, bam, bam. But last year was really tough for me. Anybody that knows how I feel about marriage knows how hard that was for me. But I got to January and I thought, wait a minute. I am so pushed and programmed to sit up and just keep going no matter what. That's how the heart attacks got me. Just would not. I didn't have time to go get checked out. I was working. I was grinding. I was trying to make things happen. I had a family that needed me. I had all these things that I had to hit. And I'm killing myself because I'm not moving that sedentary lifestyle. I done went from being fit from like 5 years ago to just being unbelievably overweight. And anybody that's followed me has seen the story of the weight loss journey since then and where I'm at and all that. But what happens is I get to 2022 and I decide, you know what? I'm not doing it like this anymore. I'll fool around and I'll do this and I'll be dead. And all of this stuff will be for naught. I took 2 weeks off. Mental health. Hit all my clients up. Hit all my associates up. Look, I'm taking 2 weeks off. Didn't have to ask nobody, know why. I built it. Then I decided, you know what? After that 2 weeks, I need this. So I decided, you know what? I'm going to do this once. I'm going to take a week off every beginning of a quarter. Now, I actually jumped ahead. I was supposed to be taking one off this coming week because this is the beginning of the third quarter. However, I did it in June. But I got it mixed up and I did it in June. My people said, well, this isn't. I said, I'm sorry. I've already set it up. So I won't take one this week, but I'll be October the 1st. I'll be right back at it. But I also decided, you know what? That's going to be at least one day in a week where I'm not going to do anything. Or I'm not going to be under the gun. So I'm not going to work with clients. I'm not going to have anything on my calendar. I'm going to do what I want to do. I might work, but it won't be because somebody has me up against the gun of the cat. So every Tuesday is a mental health day. So I got 2 weeks at the beginning of the year, 1 week at the beginning of every quarter, and one out of every day. And I didn't have to ask anybody because I own it. And that's the beauty of this thing of setting up and creating yourself. Look, this course is unbelievable. We go through everything from understanding artificial intelligence, what is AI, types of AI terminology, benefits of AI for small businesses, improved customer experience, data-driven insights, competitive advantage, AI for individuals, how to apply AI to your everyday life to make your life simpler. So you're talking about visual assistants, smart home devices, recommendation systems. You can literally get AI to make recommendations on everything from purchases to trips to everything else and give you the give you the information and the data behind how the decision and why the decision was made or why the recommendation was made and everything else. Home budgets, family budgets, family planning, investment plans, finances, everything. AI, health and wealth, personalized healthcare, medical diagnosis and treatments. All these things are things that are in this course. AI and finance, fraud detection, robo advisors for investments, automated budgeting and expense tracking, AI and education, getting started with AI, data collection, preparation, identifying AI opportunities. All this stuff is in this course that I created. That's just the syllabus that I'm reading from. And I didn't read the whole thing. I just went through it real quickly. I created it because it's time for us to stop doing what everyone else is doing and do something different so we can get something different, so we can land in a different place, so that we can start taking power. We can talk power all day long. Power is the result of accumulation and acquisition of things. Number one, wealth, knowledge, wisdom, the creation of protocols and agendas that serve strategic plans. If you don't have these things in place and they are not working conglomerately, you are not going to achieve power. You can talk about it, you can wish for it, you can pray for it, you can do all the things you think will get it done. There is a plan. If you sit up, even if you're talking about it from a faith position, if you're a Christian, you are of Jewish heritage, or you of Arab heritage, all of it covered in the Bible. You either the descendants of Abraham, descendants of Isaac, or the descendants of Ishmael, or you have converted by way of Christianity. So you are either basically primarily practicing Islam, Judaism, or Christianity. And then there are some others as well that still follow the spirituality. But if we're talking about those three that have a Jewish background or a Jewish origin. We'll start there. Here's the thing, that no matter what you look at, you go back, and even when it talks about wealth, it says it is God who gives you the power to get wealth, but it doesn't say it's God that gives you the wealth. You have to go out and create it. But there are principles for creating the wealth. It isn't something you just sit up and you wish on. There are literally principles that have been present as long as you can look back. There's building there. If you go back and you even look at the principle of tithing, I'm about to piss off some pastors, but if you look at the literal principles of tithing and you go back and you look at the law versus the actual practice of the law, wasn't actually that everybody paid tithes. The poor didn't pay tithes. Actually, if you look at the law, there were two principal types that paid tithes. And it identifies a premier type. The two types were those who own herds and those who own crops. Well, why did they pay? Because they owned the wealth. The Levites didn't pay and the poor didn't pay. Why did they pay? They paid because they could afford to pay. So it wasn't everybody paying the 10th. It was specific people paying the 10th, and there were specific rules of how the 10th was going to be paid. And that was to Israel, and that was a derelict of the codices, so that are known as, and it gives it. So I'm not going to get into it any deeper than that. But what happens is they gave because they had. And how did they have? They had no one by own those who own herds and own crops. What did they both own? Land, real estate. And you go on and you find out that there are these principles to building wealth. There's a principle that says that you have to give in order to keep it open. You close your hand, you can't receive. And it seems to be there's this way that it comes out. So no matter how tightly you squeeze, if nothing's coming in, you're losing. So then there's a need to be benevolent. And all of these principles and all these things come from understanding and knowing how to build it. It's a process. It's not a magic trick. We want everything fast in this microwave society. We want it now. And when we can't have it now, then we don't want it. Or we're going to jump from one thing to the next. We're going to demand somebody else gives it to us. No, you're going to wake up and you're going to have to look up and say, hey, look, I'm not happy with the position I'm in. I'm not happy in the state I'm in. I'm not happy with my financial situation. I'm not happy with my relationship. It doesn't mean that I'm going to run for anything. It means that I'm going to work on changing it. I'm going to work on building something, work on doing something. I understand that nobody has it perfect. Everybody who has the things that I look at and think they've got the perfect life, they've worked their ass off to build it, and they're still working on it. And all I get to see is the shine. I don't get to see the work and the grind and the push and the things that are going in the background. It's not meant for me to see. Now, if I get close enough to some people who have success in their life, I'll see what goes on in the background, and it will encourage me with some of the things I'm going. What I'm trying to get you to understand is there's no easy way to the grand life that everybody wants to live, but everybody gets turned around. Let me explain something. It's not how smart you are. It's not about who you know. It's not how great your plan is. It's not how great your strategy is. It's not the situation you were born into. All those things have influences, but none of those things trump your commitment to stay in. It is being able to finish what you start. It is the distance you are willing to go. It is the distance you are prepared to go. If you're not prepared to go the distance, you're not going to achieve the things that you desire in life, because life will pay whatever price you demand of it. But at the end of the day, it's going to make a counter demand. And when I am engaging clients and I'm talking to them, one of the things that I want you to understand is that life will pay whatever price you demand of it. Life will literally give you what you demand of it. Nothing shall be impossible. Nothing good shall be withheld from you. You're promised this. It is a universally established truth, but you got to understand that there are conditions. So when I make a demand on life, life says, I got that for you. It's already there. The moment God says that, what? You shall declare a thing. He told Job, what? You shall declare a thing. And this is the oldest book in the Bible. It was written before Genesis, Job. And so he says, you shall declare a thing, and it shall be what? Established for you, so that light will shine on your path. So the moment that I declare a thing, it's already established. And then the pathway is lit up. Here's the problem, though. You've established it, but you've got to walk it out now. So then I've established, you should declare a thing. So now I've established it. Here's the thing, though. Here comes the conditions. This is where people balk. Okay, I want a better marriage. Well, here you go, dude. I had a guy come to me. He says, man, I'm a hard worker. My wife doesn't have to work. She doesn't have to do anything. She stays home and takes care of our 2 kids. I make sure they have everything they need. I work and yet there's this constant tension between us. We're not getting along. So we get to talking, and I come to find out he's spending 2 and 3 nights a week out hanging with his boys, and he feels he's justified and he has a right to do it. Why? Because he's the provider. Well, first of all, you're supposed to be the provider. Now, if you're starting out or whatever's happening and you need help, there's nothing wrong with saying, hey, we're trying to build something. I need you to help me for a while. But when you get to a point where you're established and you're the provider, yes, you should be acknowledged for it because you're doing what you're supposed. I'm not one of those people that believe because you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, it don't count. No, it counts. How many people aren't? How much of the world is just in turmoil because people aren't doing what they're supposed to do? So you find somebody doing, yes, ain't no damn job you're gonna go on that you're doing what you're supposed to do. They're not gonna acknowledge you on. But that's what we want to do in the home is we want to sit up and say, hey, that's what you're supposed to do. I'm not giving you credit for that. You're supposed to be in the kitchen cooking. You're supposed to be working. Yeah, I am. I'm not asking for praise, but I want you to acknowledge that I'm holding down what I'm supposed to be holding down. Anyway, look. Here's the thing. So you're doing this thing and he's doing it, but he's thinking that gives him a right to put his wife in a lower level. And so I had to explain to him, first of all, that what she's doing is just as honorable as what you're doing. Matter of fact, I think it's more honorable. She's educating your seed. She's nurturing your seed. She nurtured it while she carried it. She's nurturing your seeds now as the mother, and she is preparing them to be fathered and parented by you. She's doing the first phase of this thing while you're out there doing that, so that when it's time for you to step in for the little boy and the little girl, because you're the source of identity either way, it's when it's time for you to step in, you step in, right? Okay, but here's the thing. You've got to honor her in the same way you want her to honor you. The same way you want to be acknowledged for being the provider. She wants to be acknowledged for being the nurturer. And she wants to be held in equal esteem, and she deserves to be. So then there should be nobody, including your boys, that come before her. So if you want a better marriage, the demands you make on life, you're going to have to meet the counter demand. Put her first. Now, here's what happened. He went and did what I told you to do, but he did it begrudgingly. So what did she do? She is what we see visually. And I don't just mean with our eyes. I mean, we are the ones, the holder of the vision. That's why it says, right, the vision. We're the ones with the vision. So we think visions. We see, we discern through our sight. She has what? Discernment. She has intuition. So what does she do? She feels you're doing it, but you don't want to do it. That's worse than not being. That's worse than not being there. You're here, but you are here begrudgingly. She thinking, you might as well go. So he comes back and tells me it doesn't work. So we get to it. I tell him, look, you better start seeing the value in this woman before you don't have this woman. And so he goes back, and this time he starts to see it. And now I'm like, hey, number one is your boys should love you enough to tell you to be home. You need to start making sure you're around the right people, because your boys will say, man, we spent, well, I ain't going on there, man. We went out last week. You need to be at home. So he went from seeing his boys 3 times a week to seeing his boys maybe twice a month, and so things went great, but he had to meet the counter demand. He had a demand on life, but he didn't want to give anything to get. That's not how life, God designed this world to be a world of what? Reciprocity, a world of sowing and reaping. You want the harvest, but you don't want to sow. You want the promise, but you don't want the process. You want all these. That's not how it works. So what I'm trying to get my people to see is you can't keep demanding greater things with mediocre behavior, mediocre mindsets, mediocre standards that you're operating by. This is a chance for us to really, truly climb and get out. Create these courses. And something else. While I have a healthy non-Black roster and clientele, I don't advertise to them. They come find me. I advertise to the people that I'm really trying to lift and help, because they're the hardest to reach. They're the hardest to convince. They're the hardest to help. And so when I'm doing this, I'm not there. There are more people from outside looking like me, my people, that come to me for the things I do in every area. Now, other stuff I do from the Odyssey Project solely for us, but I still get support and ideas and pushes, like, with what I did with the workshop on adverse childhood experiences. We really truly have to look at where we're at and what we're doing. But I do this because I believe in us. I believe in our genius. I believe in our gifting. I believe in the power of our resilience. And that's why it's so frustrating to see that we haven't moved one iota. Matter of fact, we've regressed uh, since the 60s. We've regressed significantly. We have been stagnant in home ownership. The wealth gap has widened. We are becoming less and less relevant politically. Why? Because we're refusing to build. We're caught up in what we look like. You can just look at different things in different phases. We are sold out on being the loudest, and I mean that visually and audibly, but having the least. And time is out from that. When you have power, you can move quietly, and your power is felt. You don't have to say a whole lot. You don't have to flex and posture. You make moves. But in order to make moves, you got to develop an awareness of how the game is played. You got to develop awareness of what's going on. We are losing because we don't know how things work. So, look, uh, I put a link for this online course, and also this course is going to give you a certification in AI consultation and integration. So you'll literally be able to help other people set up AI integrations and implementations in their businesses, or to help them launch businesses, and you can work as a consultant. Um, and my academy is nationally accredited through the Crystal Rain Institute, which I sit on the board of, and I've written a lot of curriculums for, and its accreditation sits under the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. So we are juiced, and we are doing things to make us better so that we can be better, so that we can do better. But we have to start somewhere. So, again, if you want to be a part of this AI movement, and it's coming and it's going to impact you one way or another, this is a chance to have a lot more control of how you're going to move and where you're going to fit in it. The course is on sale for the remainder of the week. It will be eventually priced at $1,600 right now. I think it's at $690. Well, I'm looking. I can tell you exact. It's at $697 for the remainder of the week. So with that being said, look, I'm gonna get ready to get out of here. You guys, thank you for dropping in on your Saturday and spending time. Thank you, Antonio Vargas, for stopping in and commenting. I know people are out doing what they do on Saturdays, but hey, I'm working. There's a mission, there's a plan, and I'm going to do the best I can to be influential and helpful in making sure that plan gets out. So again, here's your chance, here's your opportunity. As I always say, I live my life on full so that when I leave this place, I die on E. I challenge you to do the same thing. On that note, I'm out of here. You guys have a great day.